We're going to continue Be'ezrat Hashem with the introductory to different Kabbalistic concepts in order to clarify and to create a better understanding of what those topics are. So the Ari wrote in one of his famous works that were edited by Rav Chaim Vital. It's called Etz Chaim, the Tree of Life. So in Etz Chaim, in Shar Gimel, the Ari writes, Shelekol ish Israel, echad tzadik ve'echad rasha. To any Jew, whether he's a righteous Jew or a wicked one, yesh shte neshamot, shehem shte nefashot. There's two different parts of the soul. Nefesh achat, chelek Eloah mimal. One part is a part that comes straight up from above. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took, as they say, from under his throne of glory and put in this person. Ve'ashniya mitzad ha'klipa asitra achara. And the other one comes from a different pile stock, and it comes from the impure pile stock. Therefore, everyone has it. Everyone has it. It's a completely new concept. That two parts together form what we call the human soul. You have two parts in you. Hanefesh haba mitzad hasitra achara, that part that comes from the impure side, is nefesh hachiyunit, is the part of your soul that is in charge of taking your essentials. That's the part of your soul that is responding to pleasures and things like that. And therefore anything that the body depends on, including doing actions, talking, and so on and so forth, mekabel kiyumo v'chiyuto me'anefesh hazot, receives its livelihood from that part of the soul, umimena ba'ot kol hamidot haraot, and from that part of your soul, all your what we call bad qualities come. Your greed, your seek for honor, and so on and so forth, come from that. I don't know about you, but if you start thinking about it, as far as I'm concerned, all of a sudden, these are one of those statements, and one statement in a way is enough, and you will start to understand like a snowball, everything. It just makes sense. All of a sudden, everything makes sense. You can start looking at people just from that statement. A lot of the things could be clarified, but nevertheless, we're going to continue and explain it a little further. So in generally speaking, it's like when we have a cover, a husk, or shell, or skin on the fruit that really hides the inside. Let's say you have a nut, right? So the nuts have a shell. Okay? And the shell comes to, the fruit is really, or the edible part is really inside, but really outside is, that's the husk. So is HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the powers, those abilities that will hover over what we call the Elokut, divineness. And you need to basically break that shell. Your job, our job, is to do so, to break those klipot, those husks, and bring about the spirituality in you. You don't expect, and that's by the way, Kabbalistically speaking, you don't ask a child, you don't hold a child under 13 or 12, boy or girl, you don't expect them to do mitzvot. They're not held accountable if they violate the mitzvot. Because a mitzvah, we know that a kid at that point, and you see it very much so with a baby. A baby is all his attention and all his focal point is to immediate survival. He's all id. It's all about me right now. Again, there are some theorists that hold that the child does not, at a certain point, the child sees himself as a satellite of the mother. Margaret Muller is one of them. The child sees himself as a satellite of the mother, and slowly separates and creates his identity. But nevertheless, the baby's intention or the child's intention is all to oneself. Therefore, the child is very selfish. And because if not, if the child will be spiritual and we give the child the spiritual abilities, he will die, because he said, food makes me more behemic, so I'm not going to be HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates that, so you'll be able to survive. It's not to make you stumble. It's there to maintain you as a living creature. You have to eat. So if you have to eat, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his great responsibility will make that, will give this ability in you. You do expect a child, as he gets older, to develop a certain sense of spirituality by breaking basically the selfishness. Now you see how selfishness is really an impure quality. And the more selfish the person, the more impure he will be. Because that's what happens at the end. At the beginning, it's there to make you work for your survival, but you expect it to grow out of it. And Chachamim went even further to say that until 20 years old, he's not being punished, Enoshim, right? Until 20 years old. Why? Because we understand the guy is still a buffoon. He's on a journey, but at 20 years old, it's fully pledged, everything. Not in terms of mitzvot, in terms of punishment, from 13 to 20, we give him a little, parole. He's on parole. But after that, he held accountable. So why is that? Because of that. How does it come? It comes because that mechanism is installed within you for maintaining your life. Otherwise, you'll die. But you are expected to grow out of it. And it's something very important to remember. So if you ask me ever, how should I know which friend should I associate myself with? Well, it's very simple, right away. Stay away from those who are selfish. Those who will not be willing to give from themselves to you, who you ask them a favor is always like, what do I get out of it? Who would use you and will do favors to you only when it's convenient to them and they can get something out of it. Otherwise, these are the kind of people you should stay away from. That's the first assortment you should have. If you want to go and learn with the guy, say, listen, buddy, do you want to make a chavruta? You want to learn? And he will say to you, no, man, I'm busy 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. He doesn't want to give you from his time. He's selfish. Most likely. He has a tendency to allow his tum'ah, to impurity, to take over him. And why would he do that? Many times because he's just lazy. He doesn't want to. I'm good the way I am. Now you see all of a sudden it falls into place how Chachamim said that sitting idle without doing anything is horrendous. Batala, not doing anything, being basically lazy, will bring you to Bichlal Yedei Zima. Zima is impurity, sexual tendencies. One goes after the other. And that's why we need to be involved in action, in contributing, in giving, in building, and so on and so forth. You have to give up from yourself for the klal. This is, in a way you could see where communism came, but it really doesn't work like that. Why? Because communism took the whole purpose of religion, or the whole concept of religion out of it, and just didn't work. But in a way, we all contributing each other selflessly for the benefit of the general all, for society. And that's the whole concept of tikkun olam, fixing this world. Why would a person fix the world? I mean, this concept is in Gemara. Remember the story when the rabbi was walking in the street, he sees an old man, he says, "What are you doing?" The Jewish version of Whip Van Winkle, What are you doing? Say, "Oh, planting a tree." "Who are you planting it for?" "I'm planting it for, planting for my grandchildren." And then he fell asleep and woke up 70 years later, and they named a whiskey after him. He woke up 70 years later, he sees the guy planting the tree. He says, "Oh, what are you doing?" He says, "I'm planting a fruit that my grandfather planted to me." So besides that act of planting, it's an act of selflessness. I'm planting it even though I'm not going to eat the fruit. I'm planting it for other people to benefit. I'm fixing this world so this world will be to a better place. People who want to do that are people who have higher levels of purity. Again, look at Rav Ovadia Yosef. You cannot, or people of that nature, but especially him, how much he gave from himself to build schools and so on. He didn't make himself prime minister or president or whatever it is. He could have sat down and washed his hands clean from all sticky situations. He didn't have to interact with the Ethiopians. What do I care? Ethiopians. So the Ashkenazi Rabbanim don't want to call them Jews. Partly I don't really care. He said, I don't care what they say. The right thing is the right thing. They are Jews, and I said they are Jews, and that's it. And now he added, another 100,000, if not more, because now there are more Jewish soul that otherwise would have been, who knows what, just because they're black. So he did it. And he got yelled at and cried at, and people made fun of him, and so on and so forth. And people did not consider him to be, what he was. Say yes, he's a Talmid Chacham, he knows some halacha, but he's not Posek Ador. I'm sorry, but only Posek Ador does that. Posek Ador is not just a person who is able to derive a halacha from the Shulchan Aruch or from the Gemara. Posek Ador or Gadol Ador is a person who is willing to throw himself so the people can jump over and will come to safety. Gadol Ador is not what we crown him to be, but rather what he does out of selflessness. So, this is how those powers operate inside of us. Now, again, why HaKadosh Baruch Hu did that? Besides the act of survival, so we will be able to choose. It is a wonderful thing when you have choices. And that's why I try to tell you, in order for you to succeed in life, you need to create a lot of opportunities to yourself to choose from. Believe it or not, most people don't want to choose. Most people want other people to choose for them. For example, if you have an iPhone, so I have an iPhone to pick. So you think, and I'm not choosing. I might choose the color, but I'm choosing iPhone because everybody chose it for me. A person is, I'm okay with my flip phone. It's fine. That's called choosing. But you have an opportunity. You want to succeed in your life. Create an opportunity for yourself. The concept of bchira, choice, making a decision, choosing, is a fundamental part of Judaism. The whole concept of Judaism is built on choosing. God is God. He's not forcing you to do anything. You choose because that's what is the right thing to do. That's why Judaism is not a missionary religion and goes to convert people and so on and so forth. Because it has to be done by choice. Even though it's a sticky and touchy situation, most people don't want to deal with that. But really, conversion that was done for any other reason but for the sake of being under the auspices of God through Torah and Mitzvot is not a true conversion. Yeah, we find ways because we don't want to lose what we have. We're trying to keep what we have in order to push those people out, the Jews out. So we say, okay, b'di'evet, it's okay. But lechatchila, as it says from the Shulchan Aruch, that conversion is not a good conversion. Judaism doesn't need that. It's not about masses. It's not about the people. It's what you do. So, what does it mean, and why do I need to have a choice? What does it do when I do a choice? So the Kabbalah says that, for example, the Malachim, angels, are called Omdim. They stay in one position. They don't move. Why? Because they have no choice. And they don't create any movement because they have no choice. But the will of a person to choose, to become better, creates something. That will, that mystical and spiritual and intellectual thing that we call thought. Thinking is mystical. We unmystify our thoughts. Create some kind of an energy, both in this world and that world, but in that world even more. And that creates, when I'm choosing, it creates a snowball effect in Shamayim. That willing to connect to God, I want to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, creates a chain reaction in Shamayim. So when I choose to live life of mitzvot, immediately there's going to be a reaction, because for every action, there's a reaction. There's a chain reaction in Shamayim that is immediately. That neshama ties to you, and depends how high you, or how strong your desire to make tshuva, will determine how high your light will come. For example, we know that the sferot, what we call the sferot, are in a way filters, and we'll get to this, are filters of the divine light that come down, that shine on us. So depends on how and why was my intent to get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, will determine how high, how clear, and from what quality that light will come. For example, let's try to look at it this way. Let's associate some colors. Let's say my intent to make tshuva, to become an observant Jew, was because I'm very zealous and that's the right thing to do and I want judgment and nothing else, I just want judgment. So argument's sake, the light that will come from Sfira of Gvura. Gvura is associated with Din, so let's call it red light. And let's say I want to do it because I want to bring whatever to this world, justice to this world, but in a kind way, and so on and so forth. And I found that that's the way, so I'm going to go to the Gvura of Chesed, and let's call it, argument's sake, a blue light. So there's going to be pure red light, and in a way, it's going to generate myself towards that. My actions, the light, the spiritual light that will shine on me will be of, let's call it, a red, pure red light that will shine on me, and my action will be more some din oriented. So maybe I will become a dayan or something like that. And let's say if it's from the other side, it will be pure blue light. And it's very difficult for us to understand what does it mean, pure blue light. But it's a spiritual color, it's a spiritual color of blue. But what happens if I just want to do it for the sake of getting closer to God, no ulterior motive, nothing else? So therefore you will be coming from the crown, from the Sfera of Keter, which is a certain white color that includes all the colors in it. And it will shine on you. And therefore all your actions will be as glory to Hashem, where people would see that, and so on and so forth. That's what happens when I choose. Our job is to separate and to overcome that side of us that give us nourishment, so it would not overwhelm us. We need it. We need to eat. We need to have our desires, certain desires fulfilled. We don't go like, practice celibacy like the Christians, or we don't. Everything that we do as a Jew, or don't drink wine. We drink wine like we should, not like the Muslims. They supposedly don't drink wine, or don't drink alcohol when it's convenient. But we don't drink wine to get drunk. We drink wine to make kiddush. We drink wine for mitzvah, arba kosot, and an amount. That's why Chachamim tells you. That's the remez behind. That's the hint. We do it with an amount. And what's the amount? It has to be a revi'it. There is a boundary. How much you need to drink? How about if I want to drink a big jug like this of they do in beer fast? No, that is a low. You pasul. You can't do anything. Go to sleep. There's a limit. So we need to have this, but with an amount. Our job is to realize it and to start separating and bring about that spiritual koach, that fruit inside that comes from above, that would override, that would control, and will be more dominant than those urges for us to eat. And again, look at our society. Our society is, really, if you look outside, and it's amazing to me as years go by how everything becomes more about food. People became obsessed with food. Everybody's a gourmet chef. Everybody has a global knife in his it's all about food. From all these specialty cuisines, they don't even know how to flip an omelet and don't appreciate simple food. But it's all about the more bizarre food, the more craziest food, and so on and so forth. So it's not food for the sake of and even enjoyment, less, nutrition. It's eating for the sense of obsession. And the same thing with sex. It's not for the sake of creating a intimacy between a husband and wife for a spiritual reason, to have children, to continue the Jewish people, to continue the human race, to be able to share with them the good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu shared with me. Why should it only be me? And the good that I'm talking about Torah. I'm not talking about cars or money. That's why people who do not want to have children are very selfish, and nevertheless are obsessed with anything else. So what's the point of having sex if it's not for those things? What's the point? Don't we want to be less behemic, more humane? So what is the thing to have sex for fun? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. It's like you would tell me, just eat as much as you can. You don't have to worry about nutrition. Just eat as much as you can. You tell me, listen, you're obese. You have to lose some weight. You're in this percentage. You have this BMI, that BMI. So why isn't it with people say, listen, you're having too much sex. Your sexual BMI is really 50. You're sexually obese. Why? Because it's all hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy. And how do you know if a person is oversexed? When he loses meaning. When you start looking for all kind of things and other things, it's lost its meaning. It's not anymore an expression for a connection between a husband and wife. It's for you, pleasure. And it's selfishness. Our job is to recognize it. I have this part in me. I'm not an angel. I have this part in me. That's what the pasuk says. El tzadik velo yechta. Everybody makes an avera, because that part is in us. But as I said to you, lo tachmod is a very, very difficult commandment, and lo tachmod corresponds with Ani Hashem Elokecha. All the rest, don't kill, don't murder, don't this, don't that. Okay, I understand society, but lo tachmod is only a person that understands that there is a God out there. So let's start define which one of my actions, before we're going to go on, because there are in klipot, there are different types of klipot as well. You have to know your enemy, and you have to, what do you have to do? You have to let the enemy work for you. Then you become a double agent. Let's define which one of our actions is motivated by the wrong side or the impure side, and which one of our actions is driven by the good side. And let's tap into that. The first will be to recognize, to be able to identify. That's called a biru, an assortment. All what we do, we are assorters. Some people assort diamonds. It's the same thing. These are your diamonds. You're good. Let's say, for example, I give you a parcel of diamonds. I don't know, 100 carats of diamonds, a whole melange of diamonds mixed inside. Some flawless, some not eye clean. Some industrial diamonds, some this. And which is very interesting, the highest level of a diamond is colorless. Flawless, colorless, and it's flawless, without any internal imperfections. Which one of your diamonds are that? So now you need to take your parcel of diamonds and you need to start assorting them. And you sort it by qualities. And then you sort it by color. And then you develop a whole grading system. You do the same thing for your actions. Which one of your actions are industrial? You need that to create industry. So you let it work for you. You create even with your bad things, you create a positive momentum. You have to eat, you have to drink, and so on. You have to take care of your body. But you have it under control and you put it into a right direction. And then which one of your actions are flawless? And now you have to bring it to center stage. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Have a great day.